support. She spent the first half of that furlough today with supposedly short-handed police eyeing her every move. Marlene Alcaide with the big story.
Clad in her PPE and in handcuffs, political prisoner Reina Nasino arrived at the wake of her infant daughter, River, past noon. Personnel from the Bureau of Jail Management and Manila Jail, supposedly undermanned, watched her closely. In fact, Manila police were already guarding the funeral home in Pandacan even before she arrived. Nasino could not help but become emotional.
Masakit para sa akin yung nangyari sa anak ko. Yung ginawang panggigipit ng gobyerno sa akin at gawang kaso.
But what should have been a moment of grieving turned into a commotion. The police tried to stop Nasino from responding to the media. They even attempted to take her away. But the 23-year-old activist, lawyers, and relatives defended her and argued with the cops. Along with 60 others, Nasino was arrested in a raid at the Bagong Alianza Makabayan office in Tondo, Manila last year. She is undergoing trial for charges of illegal possession of firearms and explosives. While serving her preventive imprisonment, she found out that she was with child and pleaded to be released from custody last April for humanitarian reasons. But her request was never granted until she gave birth on July 1st. As a first-time mom, Nasino wanted to be with her daughter for at least a year, but after a month of giving birth, the court ordered Nasino and her baby separated. On October 9, the baby succumbed to pneumonia without her mother's care. A Manila court on Tuesday granted Nasino a 3-day furlough to visit the wake and burial of her baby. But the Manila RTC revised its decision just this morning after the Manila City Jail female dormitory wrote a letter to the judge asking to cut her visitation hours. The Manila City Jail cited lack of manpower, saying it only has 12 personnel available and cannot send Nasino an escort during the given period. It also argued that Nasino might contract the coronavirus and bring it with her when she returns to prison. In the end, the Manila RTC decided that the 3 full-day furlough be cut to 6 hours. Nasino left the funeral home at 3:30 p.m., exactly 3 hours of visitation. She will have only another 3 hours to spare on Friday when her daughter will finally be laid to rest. For News 5, Marlene Alcaide, we are One News.
With the new speaker comes other leadership changes in Congress. This in line with what the camp of newly minted House Speaker Lord Alan Velasco calls a united Congress. Ria Fernandez with this report.
House lawmakers had a word war under the previous leadership of Taguig Pateros Representative Alan Peter Cayetano. This rooted from claims that the infrastructure budget for 2021 was not equally distributed among cities and provinces. Valenzuela Representative Eric Martinez believes that this caused the shift of support to newly minted Speaker Lord Alan Velasco. But as far as the Appropriations Committee is concerned, Chairperson Eric Yap said Velasco has not issued a directive yet to amend the allocations.
Because we don't have the hand on the budget, it's just the agency who can initiate it.
Yap, who is close to Davao City Representative Paulo Duterte, also said the presidential son is unlikely to tinker on their internal budget. Duterte is the new chairperson of the Committee on Accounts, replacing Cavite Representative Bambol Tolentino.
We have 3,000 staff na kailangan niyang alagaan ngayon sa Congress. He's ready for the challenge. Ayaw lang niya ma-import sa budget ng Pilipinas dahil siyempre, presidente yung father niya.
As for the House posts, Martinez said the new leadership will only implement minor changes to finish the budget deliberations. Aside from Congressman Duterte, Quezon Representative Helen Tan, another ally of Velasco, has been reinstated as Health Committee chairperson. Tan, along with Martinez, was among the casualties of the speakership row that hounded the lower chamber for weeks.
I think by your own naman, and by your own, di ba? We have sense of yung ating pananaw sa sarili natin. Ayaw ko naman pala talaga sa kanya.
Meanwhile, Albay Representative Edsa Lagman, in an interview on One News The Chiefs, advised allies of Cayetano to voluntarily step down.
The new speaker can be given a free hand and not to be surrounded by the leaders or major players of the previous leadership.
But Cayetano insisted that there should be no changes in committee chairmanship as agreed upon with Velasco during one of their meetings.
Now, some of your people na gustong benga, talking to some of our people na magpalit na lang, umalis na lang, pati kwarto kinukuha. Let's not do that.
Cayetano tendered his irrevocable resignation on Tuesday, but House Deputy Speaker Mikey Romero contradicts this. Romero said Cayetano was ousted in the position following the election of Lord Alan Velasco. He says Velasco now has the numbers with 240 allies, including those linked to Cayetano, such as the National Unity Party and Nationalista Party.
Back to business na ang Congress, and the whole Congress is now one, united. Sumama na sa atin ang Lakas, sumama na ang Liberal Party, sumama na ang NUP and NP, no?
Romero meanwhile said they are very happy with Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte's intervention in the speakership issue. Romero regained his deputy speaker post, replacing Cayetano ally Camarines Sur Representative El Rey Villafuerte. Oriental Mindoro Representative Doy Leachon was also designated as senior deputy speaker. For News 5, Ria Fernandez, We Are One News.
Senators grilled the Public Works Department in budget hearings today, raising concerns over the influx of foreign workers hired for infrastructure projects. Senator Kiko Pangilinan asked DPWH Secretary Mark Villar about a supposed rise in the number of Chinese workers deployed for construction projects under the Build, Build, Build program. He also asked whether the hiring of foreign workers was a condition for granting loans to the country. Villar denied this.
Given a lot of these new projects, foreign projects, they do come with new technologies, and they do require some specialization. And therefore, sometimes in some of our projects, some level of Chinese work, you see some level of foreign workers, not necessarily Chinese. We have projects with the Japanese, we have projects with the Korean, and they have special skills, special equipment.
Senator Ping Lacson, on the other hand, questioned the budget cut for infrastructure projects at the national level as opposed to funds allocated for local projects. Lacson noted that at least 67 billion pesos had been provided for multi-purpose buildings, while 11 billion pesos were splashed from the budget for national roads and bridges. The DPWH is asking for a 667 billion peso budget for next year. That is the second biggest next to the Department of Education.
These multi-purpose buildings, coliseums, they have many uses for. In fact, many of them were used during this COVID as quarantine facilities. They're also used for social gatherings. Significant utility to these.
We'll go for a quick break. When the big story returns, Tropical Depression Ofel brings with it not just rains but also worries over the lack of evacuation centers amid the health crisis. And will the implementing rules and regulations for the Anti-Terror Act include a social media provision? Find out next. You're still watching The Big Story. I'm Robbie Alampay. Tropical Depression Ofel, which made landfall 3 times today, maintained its strength as it moves towards the Marinduque-Romblon area. As of 4 p.m. today, Pag-asa said Ofel was 125 kilometers west of Cuban, Sorsogon. It has winds of up to 45 kilometers per hour, gusts of up to 55 kilometers per hour. Ofel is moving westward at a speed of 15 kilometers per hour. At least 14 areas in Luzon are currently placed under signal number 1 due to the typhoon. Ofel is expected to leave the Philippine area of responsibility on October 16, Friday. Some residents in Quezon City are taking the time to prepare amid inclement weather and possible flooding brought by Tropical Depression Ofel. But will evacuation centers be packed with the pandemic still pretty much around? Camille Samonte tells us the situation.
Some residents in Barangay Rojas, Quezon City are preparing to evacuate for possible floods due to Tropical Depression Ofel. Maricel, a resident, fears the flood could reach the second floor of their house since it is located near the river. As a precaution, all her belongings are now tied to a tree.
Paggabi, hindi kami nakakatulog ng maayos kasi isipin mo bumabaha, di ba? Aabutin kami ng baha. Kaya ako, ang ginagawa ko, pag ganitong umulan, sumisilip ako dun sa labas. Titignan ko kung mataas na yung tubig. Doon ako mag-aayos na ako ng gamit ko. Itataas ko na lahat. Yung apo ko, inaakit ko kung saan ko iakyat.
Manong Virgilio, meanwhile, said he will rely on his styrofoam raft in case of flood.
Diyan masikip. Kapag may tubig na dito, dumagpas dyan, parang dagat yan. Hindi na makakanin mga speedboat nila.
But with residents already used to flooding, local officials find it hard to rescue them.
Pag nagbigay ng warning ang barangay, is mag-evacuate na sila. Hirap nang pumasok din yung mga bangka natin dun sa mga maliliit na pasukan nila, yung mga parang eskinita.
Should the flooding situation worsen, the Quezon City LGU assures its citizens that designated evacuation centers will be separate from the quarantine facility. Modular tents will be put up for each family to see to it that physical distancing is observed. Families will also be prohibited from going outside the tents until they are allowed to go home. The use of face masks and face shields will also be required. The National Disaster and Risk Reduction Management Council acknowledged that there might be fewer evacuation sites for natural disasters due to the pandemic.
Maring nabawasan yung mga available evacuation centers na magagamit nila for evacuation ng mga maapektuhan ng mga pagbaha, pagbagyo. So, hinihikayat natin ang ating mga local government units na ang iba yung paghahanda nila at paggamit ng iba pang facilities na maaaring gamitin as evacuation centers. And iba pang mga innovations na pwede nilang gawin.
Pag-asa says many parts of the country will experience more rain as the La Nina brings cooler weather in the last 2 months of the year. The Weather Bureau encourages LGUs to clean up their drainage and waterways to prevent flooding in low-lying areas. For News 5, Camille Samonte, we are One News.
And these are the other big stories today. The Anti-Terror Council has now approved the Implementing Rules and Regulations, or IRR, for the Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020. This was crafted by the technical group led by the Department of Justice 3 months after the law supposedly took effect on July 19. DOJ Secretary Minardo Guevara said that the IRR has no specific provision on social media regulations. Copies of the IRR will be distributed to the House of Representatives and law enforcement agencies. It will also be posted online. It will be published in newspapers. The anti-terror law currently faces 37 challenges before the Supreme Court. The UP Marine Science Institute has gotten the ire of Environment Undersecretary Benny Antiporda. That's after the institute dubbed the beach project in Manila Bay as a costly and temporary beautification effort. Antiporda said UP scientists have no right to criticize the project as they received ₱500 million in consultation fees since 2016. They even wanted UP to be audited. UPMSI said that while inputs are free, laboratory tests and research come with a price. Supreme Court Chief Justice Diosdado Peralta, together with Antiporda, inspected Manila Bay earlier today to check the progress of its rehabilitation. With a 23-0 vote, the Senate approved on third and final reading the anti-red tape bill, which the President certified as urgent. Senate Bill 1844 authorizes the President to expedite the release of national and local permits or do away with them altogether during national emergencies. It also allows the Chief Executive to suspend or remove any official who acts contrary to the intentions of the law. This covers all agencies under the executive branch. Authorities are easing public transportation some more, this time even allowing standing passengers in buses and expanding RoRo and air travel. How does this sit with health experts? Greg Gregorio tells us.
The one-seat apart rule among passengers in public utility vehicles has received both negative and positive remarks from the public. Some commuters say that a new policy means less waiting time for them.
Hindi naman, para minsan kasi haba ng pila eh.
Mas mabilis ang biyahe. Nakakatulong po para sa aming mga empleyado.
Malacanang on Tuesday announced that the president has approved the new physical distancing guidelines in public transportation. Transportation Secretary Arthur Tugade ordered the immediate implementation of this rule. Part of it is the increased passenger capacity of railway systems from the current 30% to 50%. Passenger capacity of jeepneys will also be increased.
Pinayagan na natin yung one-seat apart rule, pero if they think na hindi pa rin sapat yung kinikita nila o mas gusto pa nilang damihan yung kanilang mga pasahero, kailangan nilang mag-install ng plastic barriers.
Some jeepney drivers like Cesar have already been using plastic barriers between 6 passengers on each side of his jeepney. But with the approval of DOTR, Cesar is now going to adjust the spaces to accommodate more people.
Pwede namin iusod-usod konti para maging 7. Pwede naman daw na magdagdag ng pasahero. 2 pasahero bawat biyahe. Malaking bagay na yun.
Buses will also start allowing standing passengers.
Dadagdagan lang natin yan ng standing passenger in between the rows para madagdagan yung mga pasahero nila. Yung sa 3x3 naman na buses, ganun din.
But this proposal doesn't sit well with some bus commuters.
Hindi pa rin safe yun. Kasi pag umubo isang tao, ganun pa rin, kakalat pa rin. Kailangan pa rin distancing pa rin.
Ang tanong, pag-aralan nyo munang maigi. Kasi unang-unang dudumugin tayo like Christmas. Lalabas ang tao dyan.
In an interview with One News's Agenda, Dr. Guido David of UP Octa Research Team said, "We've been unofficially doing the one-seat apart rule for quite some time already. However, he expressed reservation if this will be further eased."
It will be a bit more concerning because we will start to have overcrowding, and overcrowding is one of the causes of community transmissions.
The DOTR clarifies that the one-seat apart rule is still part of their 7 commandments in PUVs. For its part, the Health Department supports the new policy.
Ito na pag-usapan at hindi naman po mag-uusap-usap ang ating gobyerno na makakasama sa ating mga kababayan. Hindi po natin tinanggal na kailangan meron pa rin hong distance between and among passengers.
The DOTR is also allowing more taxis, flights, and sea travel for RoRos. As for motorcycle taxis, it is now up to the Congress to heed the recommendation of the IATF to continue the pilot study. For News 5, Greg Gregorio, we are One News.
Let's pause for a quick break. When the big story returns, find out how authorities are looking to help ailing businesses pay out their employees' 13th month bonus. And how much will the new iPhone 12 damage you? A look at Apple's newest smartphone with 5G after the break. You're still watching The Big Story. I'm Robbie Alampay. Labor groups and business chambers are rejecting the Labor Department's proposal to exempt distressed businesses from providing 13th month pay. For them, a subsidy is the way to go. Del De Vera explains.
Justin's restaurant has only been in operation for 2 years when the COVID-19 pandemic struck. As much as he wanted to keep his 26-strong workforce intact, the crisis has forced him to lay off workers. He is now down to less than 15 employees. Quarantine measures in the metro might have been eased, but his business is still struggling to earn. And with Christmas just around the corner, Justin now faces another looming problem, giving out his remaining staff their 13th month pay.
Mahirap na mahirap magbigay ng 13th month this year kasi gaya nung nangyari halos buong taon pandemic, so lahat ng sales namin tinamaan talaga, siguro 50% or less. So saan namin kukunin yung pang 13th month?
The Labor Department said they are now in talks with the government for a possible subsidy program that will allow businesses to provide their workers with a 13th month pay. DOLE is also looking at possible substitutes to support small business owners, like allowing employees to take leaves without pay or granting employers exemption from paying 13th month bonuses.
Bilang isang labor standard na nakapaloob po sa isang presidential decree, ito po ay kailangang sundin ng mga employer. Wala naman pong tumutol po doon sa ganong prinsipyo. Bilang isang labor standard, obligasyon ng isang employer na bayaran po ito.
But for the Employers Confederation of the Philippines, providing subsidies should be the only option to support MSMEs. ECO President Sergio Ortiz Luis explains that owners of small businesses are more than willing to take subsidy loans from the government if it means providing support for their workers.
The best option is if you want to stop this stock and everybody agrees, magpahiram na lang ang gobyerno para sa gusto magbayad.
Labor groups also agree with ECO. They say what matters now is for employees to keep their jobs and provide for their families. For News 5, Dale De Vera, we are One News.
After Malacanang asked the OCTA research team composed of UP and UST professors to stop publicizing COVID-19 response suggestions, one of its fellows asserted they're just doing government a favor. In an interview with One News Agenda, Guido David said they are not even paid for their work. Pala spokesman Harry Roca earlier suggested for the experts to just privately speak with the Interagency Task Force on Emerging Infectious Diseases. But David believes that the IATF supports their efforts.
Si spokesperson Harry Roque, I find him to be a very passionate man. So sometimes yung mga sinasabi niya, it tends to become, some people get confused about what he says. And I believe the IATF really likes this findings natin na, we're giving a granular snapshot of the pandemic. And this
In sports, the Alaska Aces remain winless after succumbing to the Meralco Bolts 93-81. Jeron Teng might have 25 points for the Aces, but the Bolts had a bevy of players in double digits. Alain Maliksi top scored for Meralco with 17 points, while Amer, Hodge, and Hugnatan chipped in 15, 11, and 13 points respectively. Meanwhile, the Magnolia Hotshots are aiming to bounce back from their loss last Sunday as they face the NLEX Road Warriors in tonight's second game. And you asked for it, you got it. PBA fans will now get to watch the Bubble Games virtually beginning tomorrow, way earlier than the original schedule of October 19. The PBA will be posting on their social media accounts links where fans can log in and join. It will be done on a first-come, first-served basis. Catch the PBA Bubble Games live on TV5 every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, and on One Sports and PBA Rush Daily. Games are also seen live via Facebook and YouTube live stream, Radio 5, and Signal Play. Tech giant Apple has jumped on the 5G race with the launch of its latest iPhone 12 series. The California-based company released several versions of the iPhone 12, including an iPhone 12 mini, their cheapest model in the batch, priced at $699, around 34,000 pesos in the Philippines. The Pro version, meanwhile, comes with 3 cameras, a new 3D light detection center as well. It retails for $999, roughly 49,000 pesos. The Pro Max, that's the largest unit in the series, has a 6.7-inch display and will retail for as much as $1,400. That's around 68,000 pesos. The design, as some users put it, may be an ode to the 2012 iPhone 5 with its squared edges. Apple CEO Tim Cook said the new series marks the dawn of a new era, but analysts say customers might end up being disappointed as carriers in several countries have yet to roll out 5G capabilities. Now, trick-or-treating in this year's Halloween season may be trickier than usual with the pandemic still around, but some U.S. cities are keeping the Halloween spooks alive right in their cars. It's a Scarefest drive-thru at the Pirates of Emerson attraction in San Francisco's Bay Area. Ghosts and lurkers are sure to fright thrill seekers, but they'll make sure not to make physical contact as well. The attraction is spread out over a 10-acre space and takes about 20 minutes to finish. It runs until November 1, costs $94 per carload. In Los Angeles, another drive-thru Halloween spot is inspired by Ghostbusters and Hocus Pocus. The Hollywood Road at the Heritage Square Museum in Montecito Heights is an equal mix of theater and horror, free for the public to enjoy for the month of October. And that wraps up today's big story. Catch us again tomorrow at 8 p.m. on Signal Channels 8 and 250. Please like our Facebook page, One News. For more in-depth analysis, visit our webpage, onenews.ph. I'm Robbie Alampay. We are One News. Good evening.